What is up, my people? Where I come from, we call this Christmas Eve Eve. I've heard of some people calling it Christmas Adam. We'll spin off of Christmas Adam and Christmas Eve. But me and my people, me and my family, we call this Christmas Eve Eve. And Christmas Eve Eve is a very important day. It typically is the first day of the holiday calendar that most people take off. I took it off today. Had a great productive day. Finished most of the studio that we're building here in the house. So it's going to progressively get a little bit different around here on these live shows. Really excited. The turnover on the first of the year, we're going to be changing a lot of what we do on here, and I'm really excited for it. But, if you watched last night's live stream, we talked all about how sometimes when you're doing live television, you don't really know what you're going to talk about. I had a plan tonight. Tonight's our regular radio show type of environment. We'll be taking phone calls from the OGs over on the Patreon account. Already got one loaded up on the deck right now on the phone line. We won't be doing Q&A tomorrow on Thursday night. But, tonight more of a radio broadcast and a radio show live streamed on TV. So kind of like a TV show with just me gas bagging on here and talking into a camera and talking to you guys, while I'm doing so. But was heading into the Tonight Show, had a little bit of a plan as to what I would be talking about, but didn't really know what I was going to be opening with. And boom, Jim Nagy of the Reese's Senior Bowl kind of breaks a story on everybody, kind of slides one in that Devonta Wyatt will be returning to Georgia this year. At least he says so on his Twitter feed. And I will tell you this, there is probably not an individual more qualified to let you know that a caliber of player like Devonta Wyatt is returning to Georgia for an additional year more than Jim Nagy, right? I mean, he's the leader of the Senior Bowl. Anyone that gets an invite there or accepts an invite there has to go through Jim. So for Jim to come out and say that Devonta is going to be playing another year at Georgia, what I would surmise based off of that information is that Jim reached out to Devonta probably a couple weeks ago and was like, hey, we're sending out Senior Bowl invites. Would you like to come? Right? Well, just like DJ Daniel got one, just like Ben Cleveland got one, just like Mark Webb and all these guys, Richard LeCount, these 7 or 8 guys that are going to end up at the Reese's Senior Bowl. I would imagine Devonta, based off what he's done on tape at Georgia over the last 2 years, would be another one of those individuals that was going to be getting an invite to the Reese's Senior Bowl. The only reason he wouldn't have is if he would have turned it down and said, well, Jim, actually, I would have loved to play in your game, but I'll be returning to Georgia for yet another year. And I can't tell you how important it is for that young man to be back on campus for Georgia next year. Look, they missed, let's be honest, they missed on Mason Smith, okay? That defensive tackle room's going to get light eventually. We expect that Dogs Daily and on SI.com and over on the Patreon account that most likely Jordan Davis is leaning upon coming back, but there's no guarantees there. Devonta Wyatt is at least a bit more of an insurance policy if he does indeed, Jordan Davis that is, indeed declare for the NFL draft. It's great to have a guy like Devonta back. And I think Devonta is one of these guys that I think's criminally slept on at the defensive tackle position for Georgia because everybody talks about Jordan Davis. Everybody talks about guys like Azeez Ojulari. Everybody talks about Jalen Carter as a true freshman this year. Devonta Wyatt, I think, was second on the team in 2019 in quarterback pressures. The guy was getting after the quarterback constantly. He's a really good football player. When you watch him on tape, man, he's explosive. I mean, really, really explosive. Almost a borderline freaky athlete for how big and strong and wide he is. The other thing I like about Devonta, and it's something that it's a bias for me as an evaluator and for me as a scout. I love bow-legged athletes. I don't know why. I've just found that over the history as a scout, over the history of someone like, me, who has always tried to evaluate athletes for who they are, what their body type looks like, all those weird things that most people don't watch for. I've always found that bow-legged athletes are some of your most explosive, most of your freaky athletes. Devonta, kind of proves that true. He's got wide knees, tight ankles, all these things. And he's really, really explosive. So I've always liked to see types of athletes like this, and Devonta is exactly one of those. I believe we got Matt Rimmer on the line. Matt, we're going to be taking phone calls all night tonight. Well, not all night tonight, but in between segments. Matt, what do you got for me tonight, brother?
Hey, what's up, Brooks? How are you, man?
I can't complain, brother. I'm sitting here giving takes to a camera, and you're giving me an opportunity to wet my whistle a little bit. I get a little dry mouth sometimes when I'm giving these hot takes. What you got for me, brother?
Hey, let's get it. Let's go. I'm an O-line guy. You're an O-line guy. Listen, I think you touched on this. I did a little research. I did kind of a Sam Pittman versus a Matt Luke, okay? I went back, looked at some guys. Sam Pittman, if you would agree, historically, I mean, he picks the big dudes, like the 6'5", 350s.
Yes.
6'5", 340. I noticed the trend. So if you go back, you look at Dan Skipper, 6'10", 335. Frank Ragnow, 6'5", 325. Sebastian Tretola, 6'5", 345. Then you look at Matt Luke's dudes from the past. Duke, Laken Tomlinson, 6'3", 315. Vaughn Cooper, 6'5", 295. Greg Little, 6'5", 310. Here's my opinion, and I want you to kind of elaborate on this. I think Matt Luke and Todd Monken go hand in hand like peas and carrots. I think the guys that Matt Luke recruits are perfect for Todd Monken's offense. And I kind of see a vibe with Sam Pittman's guys not working for that offense. I think Sam Pittman and Jim Chaney are perfect for each other. I mean, what does Jim Chaney run? He's downhill, running down your throat. So if you can kind of elaborate on that, the kind of guys, like you touched on Jared Wilson being more of a Matt Luke player, I just want to hear more about that. I think Monken and Luke are perfect for each other. So
absolutely, Matt. I appreciate your question. We'll take it off air. I think Matt's hitting on something perfect. And as most of us former offensive linemen, I think Matt played some D3 offensive line back in his day. A knee injury might have ended Matt's career, but I think he hit the nail right on the head. The two are one and the same. They're mutually exclusive, if you will. They're mutually beneficial to one another. If you go back and look at Todd Monken's history as an offensive coordinator, we talk about this so often on this because you really got to study who Todd was before he even got to Georgia, and that'll kind of lead you into believing or lead you into knowing what he's going to do in the future with Georgia. And his past tells you that he likes getting offensive linemen out on the edge. He likes running pin and pull. He likes running counter. He likes running power. He likes all of those things because he comes from an NFL background. It's very, very hard to just line up, run inside zone, and block guys head up on each other. Now, if you go back and look at Pittman's history as an offensive line coach, I believe he was on that Bielema staff up there in Arkansas, and Matt talked about it right to the point. Arkansas was just recruiting basically centers, like 1990 NBA centers, like 6'10", 300 pounds, can't really move, but can move vertically, and they're big mass movers, things like that. That was Sam Pittman's MO as an offensive line coach, as an offensive line recruiter. I think the best way I can say it, and I've said this over and over and over again, Matt Luke's first-round draft picks at the offensive tackle position look a whole lot more like Laramie Tunsil than they do like Isaiah Wilson. You know what I mean? Like these 6'5" athletic, more like power forwards, right? Guys that look more like that than they do like centers. Like they look more like Laramie Tunsil at 6'5", 305, like Matt was talking about, than they do like Isaiah Wilson at 6'7", 340 pounds. It's just the profile that they're after, right? I mean, think about it. The 6'7", 315 guy that looks like Xavier Truss, or the 6'7", 315 pound guy that looks like Amarius Mims, right? Those are the two differences. And to me, I mean, Sam would have recruited Amarius no matter what, and he probably would have landed him no matter what. But you get what I'm saying. The overall profile of Matt Luke is moving more towards players like that. So we're going to hit another segment, and then we'll take phone calls again right after that for you OGs that are on the live stream. All right, so a lot of people opted out before the season. I know Georgia's getting hit with a mass exodus right now. It seems like 8 or 9 guys. I believe it's up to 9 now at this point from what we reported over on Dogs Daily on SI.com of guys that aren't going to be playing in the bowl game. Well, I'm kind of here to tell you that bowl game-wise, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later tonight, it's the MO moving forward. It's what it's going to be, so just kind of get used to it. And for that matter, it's what it's been if you've really been paying attention. So these new complaints, these new issues that people are throwing on your timeline, they've been there. People have just now really started to put a voice to the complaints about it. So we'll talk about that a little later. But the difference between this year and years past, obviously it was COVID, but with COVID came player opt-outs of guys opting out the entire season. And for the most part, apart from a couple of guys that we'll talk about just here in a minute, it's kind of hurt guys, and it's honestly cost them some money in the first round discussion. If you pay attention to what player salaries and signing bonuses are for each of the individuals that go picks 1 through 32, they're slotted, right? The money value that you can get at each pick is very, very slotted. And 6 to 10 picks can cost you $4 to $6 or $7 million in that first round of the NFL draft. So I think guys like Jamar Chase have hurt themselves, okay, and have cost themselves a few $1 million. Now, before I get into this, I want to let you know that Jamar Chase is probably going to be a first-round draft pick, okay? He is a really, really good wide receiver. People will take a chance on him, especially with Jalen Waddle being injured. But entering the 2020 season, Jamar Chase was the consensus #1 wide receiver. Nobody would buck you. Everyone thought he could have been a first-round draft pick last year in that loaded wide receivers core or class. Okay, flash forward this year, coming up into the season, people are talking about Jamar Chase. Can't wait to see him. Can't wait to see what he can do with a new quarterback down there at LSU without Joe Burrow in a system where he's the #1 guy. And quite frankly, he's really the only guy going into the season. Boom, he opts out. Okay, and we spend the next 8 months talking about who? Talking about Devonta Smith. You're right. Devonta Smith goes out there, sets and breaks a number of records in his final season at Alabama, and potentially puts himself into a position where, we'll talk about this a little bit later too, he's got a chance to actually win a Heisman as a wide receiver, which I don't know when the last time that happened. I don't know if it's ever happened. I know, I can't forget his name. Played for Oakland, played for the Packers, played for Michigan in college, played both ways. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. And ended up winning a Heisman. But that was really a corner who, moonlighted as an offensive player. That's kind of the only non-running back quarterback that's won the Heisman. Historically, it's been a running back quarterback Heisman and a trophy to win. And now we're talking about Devonta Smith actually having a chance. That's how much that young man has elevated his draft stock. So, yeah, I would have to say that if there's only 2 teams in the top 10 or maybe 3 teams in the top 15 that are willing to take a wide receiver with that first overall pick or that first-round draft pick or their first opportunity at the pick, and he slid a full spot, that could go from pick 6 to pick 9 or pick 6 to pick 14. That could be $6 or $7 million in the NFL draft. I don't know about you guys, but $6 or $7 million is a lot of money to me. Now, the other counter argument, and it's one that I'm always here for, Charles Woodson is the guy we're talking about. Desmond Howard was almost strictly an offensive player. Charles Woodson, I can't believe I forgot the name. Anyways, back to this. So he probably has cost himself some money, but I always like to do the catch-22, right? The other side of the argument. You guys know I'm really, really pro player. It's the way I'll probably always be the rest of my life until I get old and cantankerous. But I'm pro player, which means if you're going to be pro player, you can't sit here and say the decision cost him millions when you could probably say, oh, well, let's say he goes out and has a Jalen Waddle type injury and doesn't opt out this year. Crying shame what happened to Jalen Waddle. He might even be back for the playoffs. It's an injury that he's rehabbed from quickly. But Jalen Waddle was right there with Jamar Chase. Jalen Waddle was in the discussion ahead of Devonta Smith before the injury happened, before the season happened. Now he's back behind probably both of them or right there even with Jamar Chase. So it's catch-22, right? But with some of these other guys, I don't think it is. Let's take a sore subject and a sore topic for University of Georgia fans. Let's talk about Jamie Newman. Let's do it. Prior to opting out of the 2020 season, find me the NFL mock draft. Go ahead and find it. Dated in August or prior, in September, early September, because I think he opted out like September 7th or 8th. Okay? Early September and prior. Find me the NFL mock draft that had Kyle Trask and Mac Jones ahead of Jamie Newman on the NFL mock draft. Find one. I would dare you. You're not going to find it. So for him to have opted out, you're talking about guys like Kyle Trask and Mac Jones and even Zach Wilson jumping ahead of Jamie Newman. Zach Wilson has gone out this year and worked himself into a reasonable discussion to be quarterback 2 off the board this year in the NFL draft. Meanwhile, Jamie Newman is just dropping like a rock on most NFL draft big boards because it's all about – I saw someone on Twitter today talk about what have you done for me lately? That's how these NFL scouts are to an extent. Okay, not being able to see you, not being able to see Jamar Chase go out and make plays this year has changed and moved the focus to Devonta Smith. Not being able to see, and it's way more under the spotlight at the quarterback position, not being able to go out and see Jamie Newman actually make plays this year has cost him some money. There is no doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about the fact that Jamie Newman going out and having an above average year with Georgia, which I think he would have done. Would it have been, 330 yards on average over the last 3 games or 4 games like JT Daniels has had? Probably not. But he would have showed a much more explosiveness, an ability to run with his legs. He would have looked like Jalen Hurts. I'm going to be honest with you. That's what it looked like to me. If I were to make an NFL comparison, it would be Jalen Hurts. People bought into Jalen Hurts out of college. Okay, guess what? Same quarterback trainer. The Quincy Avery probably could have cleaned up the same type of throwing issues that you see or saw with Jalen Hurts. The same type of accuracy issues probably could have been cleaned up going into the NFL draft, just like Quincy did with Jalen Hurts. There's no game tape though, and the hype surrounding these other quarterbacks does matter. It does matter. What you do on Saturdays does matter. How much your name is talked about in the media does matter. I don't care. Any scout in this world can tell you their unbiased opinion. They only watch the tape. They only do this. They only do that. They only look at certain measurements. They only look at certain analytics. I'm telling you right now, it is human nature to see media coverage like we've seen with Zach Wilson. See your Twitter timeline. Talk about guys like Kyle Trask and talk about guys like Mac Jones and not have it affect you. It's almost impossible. So with that being said, Jamie Newman cost him some money. It's impossible to argue any other way. Before the season entered, when he was a member of the Georgia Bulldogs, when he was expected to be the starting quarterback for Georgia this year, he was in bottom of the first round, midway through the second, early third discussions when it comes to the quarterbacks. Now he's what? Let's count them. Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, Lance, Trask, Jones, Newman. He's 7th. He's 7th on the board, on most people's boards. Yeah, you might find a scout here and there that likes Newman more than Trask or maybe more than Jones for the measurables and the intangibles, things like that, but still cost himself some money. No doubt about it. Okay, so that's a guy that I think absolutely these opt-outs probably, maybe, I'm not going to say ill-advised, but they cost him some money. No doubt about it. The other guy, Sage Surratt, one of another Wake Forest guy that was Jamie Newman's teammate. It's a really, really light wide receiver class, especially when you consider what's happened over the last couple of years in the NFL draft. I think we've got, not as much of a ceiling with these guys. There's some bulk there. When you talk about Kadarius Toney, when you talk about the kid from Purdue and Rondale Moore, things like that. There's good players out there. Are there top 10 picks? Are there top 25 picks like we saw last year? I think we saw 4 or 5 wide receivers go in the first round. Probably not. Okay, that's not this class, but that's even more reason why a guy like Surratt probably needed to go out and ball. He really needed to go out and play. He doesn't have a massive sample size. He didn't play a lot as a freshman, was banged up as a sophomore, and completely opts out of his junior year. I think there's 18 games of him playing, which I think we're talking about career 75 to 80 receptions. It's not a big sample size for a wide receiver when we're talking about other things. So I appreciate you, Chuck. Appreciate you. How do I feel about YouTubers calling players quitters? I'm not here for that at all. Y'all know that. I'm a players guy. I'm not here at all for people calling people quitters on here. Rashad Bateman is the wide receiver at Minnesota. Rondale Moore is the wide receiver at Purdue. Appreciate the comments. We are taking phone calls, and we're going to get to them here in a second. Now, so go ahead and start calling in if you want to, OGs. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next segment. But my final closing points on this is there was, I think, probably 40 or 45 guys that opted out the entire season this year in college football. And I really think you can make the argument that there was only 2 that didn't hurt themselves when it comes to their NFL draft stock. And it's just because they're transcendent. They're once in a decade type of prospects and once-in-a-decade type of ceilings. And one of them is Penei Sewell, the tackle from Oregon. I'll tell you this, man. They don't make better athletes at the tackle position than Penei Sewell. They really don't. And the way he plays is beyond physical. It's beyond athletic. It's beyond physical. It's perfection. I really do think Penei is the best tackle prospect I've evaluated, sat down and watched in 5 or 6 years. He's that good, in my opinion. He's a day one impact player at the left tackle position. It's why you're starting to see, with the New York Jets actually having won a game, it's why you're starting to hear rumblings about them maybe, holding on to Darnold and shifting into actually drafting an impactful left tackle in Penei Sewell. And he's the type of player that, I know you've got Mekhi Becton up there in New York. Well, both of them are pretty good athletes. Penei, especially, if you want to move him to right tackle, he'd fit in seamlessly and he'd play really, really well out there too. So I think that's how good of a prospect this guy is, that he'll actually make the New York Jets stop and think before they trade away their current quarterback to draft a guy like Justin Fields or to draft a guy like Trey Lance or Zach Wilson. They will seriously stop and think about taking a tackle at that position because Penei Sewell's that good. The other one is Micah Parsons, the linebacker from Penn State. 6'3", 244, and running like a deer, covering sideline to sideline with ball skills and the ability to cover and be disruptive at all points of the game of football. Those guys don't come around too often, okay? So when that guy comes up, whether he's played 1 year, 2 years, 3 years in the NFL or in college, that dude's going to be a first-round draft pick, and Micah Parsons going to be that way. So that is what it is, okay? And with that, we will take a quick break, and we will move into our third segment, which is the Heisman discussion. We got a Heisman being handed out this Saturday. I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah, we got a Heisman coming out this Saturday. That'll be fun. Feel free to hop in, OGs, if you want. I know some of you guys are a little camera shy. You're a little phone call shy. But if you're here, feel free to hop in. We'll take your phone calls whenever. Now, on to the Heisman discussion. Now, here we got this question. Steve, what's the number? The number is only available to the OGs on the Patreon account. Now, here's why. I'm a firm believer that you are what your community is. My community is a bunch of goofballs over on that Patreon account. There are a bunch of goofballs over there on that Discord channel where we do all of our talking. We talk constantly all day long, mostly about Georgia football. Last night we had a great discussion about fast food. I'm a big guy. I'm sure you can imagine. I've got an opinion on everything. Never been afraid to share it with you and give you my opinion on something. Food, the same exact way. My opinion about fast food restaurants. Let me ad-lib a little bit here. My opinion on fast food restaurants is the fact that it's a layered discussion. It is a layered discussion. What I mean by that is it's all about the mood, where you're at. Okay, it's not about dwindling it down to your favorite fast food restaurant. Fast food restaurants are abundant. There's so many different ones. And here's how I broke it down last night. Am I looking for a burger? If I'm looking for a burger, I'm going to Wendy's, getting a Baconator. There's no question about it, okay? If I maybe had a few cocktails too many back in my college days and I'm going to get maybe a 2 a.m. snack, I'm going to Taco Bell and I'm getting a chicken quesadilla and soft taco, no lettuce, add a cheesy gordita crunch. You know what I'm talking about? If I'm trying to get absolutely sloppy, gain a little weight before I have to get on the scale the next morning because my coach is going to be a little mad that I came in a little light, I'm going to go to Cookout, get a Cookout tray, double cheeseburger, bacon, onion, ketchup, mustard, fries, quesadilla, extra order of hush puppies. By the way, it's what they don't tell you about Cookout. It's what they tell you. They don't tell you about Cookout. Cookout, you can get like 12 or 14 hush puppies for like 99 cents. Don't ever get hush puppies as a side order or one of your sides. Always get it as an additional for the extra 99 cents and it'll slap. I'm telling you that right now. Take it from a fat guy. Now, if it's like 4 a.m. and I really been up too late, I'm going to walk over to Waffle House, okay? I'm going to get an all-star special. I'm going to bang that thing out. Hash browns, covered, not smothered, okay? Just a little bit of cheese, maybe a little bit of onions if I'm feeling frisky, and some Heinz 57 sauce. That's how I'm getting down. I don't know about y'all, but fast food to me is a layered discussion. And if you were a member of the OGs and on the Discord, as my man right here is saying, that's where the party's at, man. We talk about all kinds of stuff, especially food some nights. So it's always worth it. That's what we always like. And here we go. We got nugget, hold the coleslaw, extra fries. This was a Zaxby's take. So we were really all over the map yesterday. Zaxby's, everybody knows. You get a large chicken finger buff plate. You don't get the coleslaw. It's Zaxby's. I ain't eating their coleslaw. Hold the slaw, extra fries. Everybody knows that one. All right. So since nobody wants to call in, we just want to talk about what we were talking about last night in the OG's Discord. Let's get right into this Heisman discussion. Look, for the remainder of time, for the rest of history of college football, as long as there is no accurate definition of the Heisman Trophy, there's going to be constant debate. And maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want constant debate to stir up ratings, to drive interest upon the award. But I'm going to tell you that year in and year out, there is massive amounts of variance as to what the definition of the award is. Okay, prime example. Is it just given to the best quarterback? Because 17 out of the last 20 years, the award has gone to a quarterback. Literally, since 2001, excuse me. Since 2000, no, it is right, 2000. Since 2000, 3 non-quarterbacks have won the award. Name them. 1, Reggie Bush. 2, Mark Ingram. 3, Derrick Henry. That's it. The rest have been quarterbacks, including a guy by the name of Jason White. I don't know if y'all remember him, but he was a 6th-year senior at Oklahoma who, if you go look at his stats right now, looks like, you know, if you compared him to what we're doing now in college football, you'd be like, how in the absolute heck did this guy win a Heisman Trophy? That's what it's been for 20 years. 17 out of the 20, it has gone to the best quote-unquote quarterback, okay? Is it given to the best player on the team? Okay, and we got a phone call right here. We're gonna leave you on hold, 706. So just give me a second. I'm in the middle of a take, and it's a fiery one. So let me get this one out. Here we go. Is it given to the best player on the best team? In the last 20 years, right? Only 3 players, Tim Tebow, RG3, and Lamar Jackson, have won the award with 3 losses or more. Literally, only 3 of them. In the history of the award, it's only been 10 of them. Okay, so you have to be on a winning team and a really, really national contending type winning team, especially as of late with the college football playoff being enacted in college football. Think about it. Since 2014, when the college football playoff was originating, the first year of its existence, Marcus Mariota won the Heisman Trophy. His team in Oregon was in the playoff. In 2015, Derrick Henry won the award. His team was in the playoff. In 2016, Lamar Jackson is the exception to this rule at Louisville. In 2017, Baker Mayfield, guess what? Oklahoma was in the playoff. In 2018, Kyler Murray, guess what? Oklahoma was in the playoff. In 2019, Joe Burrow, guess what? They won the national championship and ultimately were in the college football playoff. So as of late, 5 out of the last 6 award winners have had to be on a national title contending football team. They've had to have been in the playoffs 85% of the time. Okay, so does it have to go on to the best player on the best team? Is it given to the best player on the best team? Or is it given to the actual definition of the award, which they claim to be the most outstanding player? What does that even mean? What does it mean to be the most outstanding player in college football? Think about it. What is your definition of outstanding? Is it the most outstanding statistical season like it was with Lamar Jackson, like it was in 2011, I believe it was, or 2012 with RG3? I'll tell you what, Jordan Lynch had a pretty daggum outstanding season in 2014 for Northern Illinois, one of the best statistical years and most outstanding statistical years we've ever had at the quarterback position. Bryce Love's statistics in 2017 were pretty daggum outstanding. He broke a record for most yards per carry. I think he was averaging 8 yards a carry. Think about that. The man was basically a walking first down in the Pac-12. He was the entire team for Stanford. This year, Kyle Trask's numbers are really, really outstanding if you're watching it. So what is your definition of the most outstanding award? Is it the most valuable player? Do you vote on it as the most valuable player in college football? Because if that were the case, I think you'd have a really hard time arguing that Trevor Lawrence isn't the most valuable player in college football. Notre Dame beat Clemson with Clemson on the road in Notre Dame with a freshman quarterback in DJ Uiagalelei. Okay? They came back, and that game wasn't even close Saturday. I don't know if you guys were watching it. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, the defense held Notre Dame down. Notre Dame didn't capitalize on their shots. That game was never close. I'm sorry. And it goes beyond that. With DJ Uiagalelei as a starting quarterback, as a true freshman, guess what? Boston College almost beat that butt, okay? Boston College doesn't get within 4 scores of Trevor Lawrence and Clemson, but they almost beat DJ Uiagalelei and Clemson when they played them without Trevor Lawrence. So Trevor Lawrence is the most valuable player this year. Is he going to win the Heisman? I don't know. What is your definition of the award? That's what you have to come down to. That's what we all need to know. What is the clear, set, defined definition of the award? Until that, we're going to constantly have these arguments because history says it's all of these things. It is the most valuable player some years. It is the most outstanding player some years. It is the best player on the best team some years. It is the best overall, most outstanding player some years. It is just simply the best quarterback on the best team some years. It's a constantly moving bar. It's a constantly changing requirements as to who wins the Heisman. To me, my definition of the award is who is the best player in college football, hands down, regardless of position, who is the most dominant and best player in college football. And that question is answered simply Devonta Smith. You cannot tell me there is a more dominant, more fear-drawing football player in college football right now than Devonta Smith from Alabama. You can't do it. You absolutely can't do it. He is lighting up everybody. That whole game plan from Florida was to try to shut him down, and he still went off. Devonta Smith is my Heisman winner because I define the award as the best player. No ifs, ands, or buts. The best player in college football this year is Devonta Smith. All right, 706. You've been waiting nice and long. Let's get you on here. What do you got for me, brother? Or later. Hello.
It's Dio. Merry Christmas, Mr. Brooks Austin.
Merry Christmas to you, Dio.
Brother, oh geez.
What do you got for me, Dio?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on Mr. Smith for the Heisman. I want to tell you my situation real quick. I've been consuming content on college football since a very young age. In about 5 years, I opted out. And I went to the bare minimum, which are these YouTubers that are basically fans. And because I could not stand the Alphabet Network and I could not stand so much of the spin that you get. So finding your channel has kind of been an oasis for me. And in a pretty horrible year, it's been a real bright spot and helped reinvigorate my passion for college football. So what I want to ask you, because I haven't consumed content like I had in the past, are there other teams having the same opt-out problems as the University of Georgia in these bowl games? I know there's 1 or 2 here and there, but seems like over the past 3 years, we're getting hit harder than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, Dio, I appreciate the phone call. We'll answer you off air just in case somebody else wants to call and not holding it up. Appreciate you, brother. Have a great Merry Christmas, my man. Here's the deal. Here's my opinion. When we're talking about culture, when we're talking about all that kind of stuff, Georgia's a 3-year program. They recruit like one. And what I mean by that is they've kind of moved more towards what college baseball does, which is college baseball has, partial scholarships. They have 13 scholarships for a 40 to 42 person roster. And what that ultimately means is at a place like Vanderbilt, at a place like LSU, at a place like Mississippi State, perennial powerhouses in baseball, they expect you to be gone by your senior year. They allocate scholarships, they allocate financial, aid and stuff like that for the incoming class and expect you to be gone by your senior year because they recruit at such a high level. Very similar thing for the University of Georgia. Georgia under Kirby Smart, I think this is the first year they've signed fewer than 24 players in each class since 2016. All of those players technically could still be on roster, okay? The 2017 class, I think it was, is the only one that really had early guys go, right? Guys like Solly was in 16. 470, we'll take your phone call here in just a second. Let me finish answering this question. 17 had a few guys like Andrew Thomas, like Isaiah Wilson, like Jake Fromm, like DeAndre Swift leave early. But guess what? There's still almost 100 players on Georgia's roster that are scholarship-worthy players, and they only have 85 to fill them. So eventually, you're going to have guys make business decisions like Evander Holyfield and decide they're going to leave early for the NFL draft. Now, I think it's a little, hyper-focus on your own program, the one you cheer for or the one you root for, because Mississippi State had 16 opt-outs this year during the regular season, okay? Guys that actually just gave up middle of the year and said, I'm done playing. All right. Georgia didn't have any of those mid-season. They had a couple of them, that might not have practiced as hard and ultimately were going to make the decision to either hit the portal or go elsewhere the year after. But she didn't have any. Jamie Newman was the only one that opted out technically in season. The rest of them waited till the bowl game like everybody else. All right. 470, you are on the air. What do you got, my man?
Hey, man, I love what you do, man. I just have a quick question, a little bit off topic. From 2011 to this current year, could you do like an all-decade team, maybe on offense?
Ooh, it's a lot of work, my brother. What's your name?
My name's Will, man.
Will, appreciate you, Will. We'll take your question off air. Yeah, I would love to do an all-decade team. It's going to be a good bit of work, though. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the best way to do it is to take 10 to 20, right? We're about to end the 2020s. The decade between 2010 and 2020. So I think we will take 2010 to 2020. You know who would be perfect for this? And I think I saw him in the comments section early on tonight. Is my boy Kyle Thunderberg. I'm gonna tell you what, Kyle is one of the best historians of the program, of the football program at Georgia that I've ever been around, and definitely that I've ever worked with. The dude has kept every single what do you call it? Like team brochure they give you from 1990, and I think they're public information. I think you can get them. They're probably on Galileo somewhere or something that I didn't use because I'm gonna tell you what, research papers were my least favorite topic in high school and in college and in my master's degree program. Research papers were not the place to find me. So finding historical information has never been for me unless I can go find it on College Football Reference or something like that, unless there's a list of the history of whatever I'm looking at on Wikipedia that it gives me the results quickly. So not really for me. But my last rant of the night, and if we have any more phone calls, we'll take them as we get it. But it kind of goes into this bowl game opt-outs, like Dio was talking to us. Look, it's continued to climb, right? The bowl game opt-outs, it's up to 9 players at this point. Last year, I think Georgia went into this football game at the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day with, I think, 14 or 16 major contributors missing the game, just not being there, including a guy like Ben Cleveland who wasn't there, but was a great issue. So it's never been, for Georgia over the last couple of years, it's been something that's been going on. It has nothing to do with 2020. It has nothing to do with COVID. It has everything to do with your roster being filled with NFL caliber football players. It's what it is. And you can throw at me, well, Alabama gets guys to come back. Alex Leatherwood came back. Great. It's great. Okay. But if the standard's always going to be Alabama, you're going to be disappointed quite often. Quite often. They have won national championships literally every other year for 15 years. Okay. It's not the standard you need to be beholden yourself to. Now, it's something you can aim for. It's something you can look at and say, well, they're doing this, kind of like you're doing with the opt-outs. They're doing this. They're developing players like this. They're getting guys to come back like this, okay? That's something you can do. You can ask questions as to why, but the final answer is going to be it's Alabama. It's Clemson. Clemson getting Travis Etienne to come back is Clemson. Okay, Georgia will have an occasional one or two of those. Jordan Davis being on borderline, maybe coming back to college this year is jaw-dropping. Jaw-dropping, okay, because he would be a top 40 pick. He probably would be the number 1 defensive tackle / nose tackle / shade technique on everyone's NFL draft board, okay? So that's how good that guy is, and for him to even be flirting with coming back tells you everything you need to know about whether or not there is a culture issue at Georgia. and not to mention all the opt-outs that didn't happen during the regular season. But, guys, these bowl game opt-outs are nothing new. They're absolutely nothing new for the University of Georgia. In 2017, that Sugar Bowl was a preview of 2019. You didn't know who Azeez Ojulari was or what he was going to be until that Sugar Bowl against Texas. You didn't know what Devon Wilson may or may not be for Georgia until the Sugar Bowl against Texas. Okay? In 2019, in that Sugar Bowl, you got your first look at Warren Ericson, who now everyone's calling for every time an offensive guard falls on his face or a center has a bad snap. You wouldn't have known that without the Sugar Bowl. Okay, that North Gwinnett prospect probably might not have ever sniffed the field. Definitely wouldn't have been having you go to Twitter and call out for him to be starting had you not seen him in the Sugar Bowl. Okay, so same thing for Tyler Clark being out last year and getting an extended look at your defensive line. Michael Barnett playing in that game in a little bit of a fashion, but getting an opportunity to see those young guys. Playing Lewis Seen at the safety position without J.R. Reed. That was pivotal for development and the culture of Georgia's defense moving forward. Just like this year, having the opportunity to get Cedric Van Pran in there and get him playing extended, meaningful reps with Trey Hill and Ben Cleveland being out. That's who's going to replace him. I bet Warren Erickson's already kicked the guard and Cedric Van Pran's playing center. Okay, I would imagine that's what they're doing. They're probably building for the future. Just like Eric Stokes, most likely not being in the Sugar Bowl, is going to give you a look at Jalen Kimber before Keely Ringo gets fully healthy and before Nyland Green gets eligible to play for football games and play on Saturdays for you at Georgia. You're going to get a look at Jalen Kimber. You probably wouldn't have without this football game. He might have been a backup next year. Maybe he goes out and plays lights out and wins a starting job this year. And maybe you don't have questions about the corner position moving forward. Amir Speed, we haven't seen that guy ever at Georgia, it seems like. Extremely talented. One of the best physical frames and physical profiles you can have at the cornerback position. Haven't seen him. Might get an opportunity to see him this year in the Sugar Bowl in an otherwise meaningless game. And I know that word meaningless, kind of makes people scoff at the idea of that. But it is what it is. I know for a fact, based off my viewership, my views, my statistics, my analytics, that about 30% of you kind of turned off the TV, turned off the internet, turned off the Twitter feed after the Florida game, okay? This football team didn't. They played throughout the rest of the year. They finished the regular season, and now some of them are leaving. And now you get a look at what the future looks like. That's good. That is beneficial. You need that, okay? You need to get a look at those football players. Otherwise, you might not get an opportunity to. This Peach Bowl is your opportunity to see those types of individuals play football, to see Major Burns play, to see Nolan Smith get extended run. Nolan Smith might get his first start in his college career after 2 years of being at Georgia and being ranked the #1 player coming into the University of Georgia. He has an opportunity to start at Jack for the first time all year. Adam Anderson, I'm telling you right now, probably won't get any more playing time, any less playing time than he normally does, okay? Sorry. I don't think Azeez Ojulari being out suddenly makes Kirby Smart think, yeah, we can play him at Jack. He can stack and shed the edge. That's what he can do. He can go out there and block tackles. Yeah, he's not 230 pounds still and wiry thin and best attributes being a pass rusher, not exactly setting the edge and shedding blocks in the run game. It's not going to suddenly change his opinion on that. You're going to see a lot more Nolan Smith. You're going to see a lot more McCall Sherman. You're going to see a little bit more Adam Anderson. You're going to see some of those things. Monty Rice being out is going to give you an opportunity to see Quay Walker play 4 quarters, which is, to me, as an evaluator, invaluable. I can't see enough of Quay Walker. Quay Walker cannot get enough reps in a live college football game because guess what? He's played a good bit for the last year at Georgia, but he still makes really, really weird and unquestionable decisions on tape. It's like, where are you going? Why are you doing that? What are you doing? What are you seeing? What are you reading? Monty Rice did make those mistakes. Nakobe doesn't. A lot of that's because, they've played traditional linebacker for a long time, including in college. Quay's the type of player that needs more reps. Guess what? He's going to get them. He's going to get them this week. So those are all good things to me. If I'm a Georgia fan, those are all benefits for me going into the 2021 season, because we all know, you and I both know, as someone who produces content for you to absorb, I know that the rest of the season, starting after the Monday after Georgia lost to Florida, I knew the rest of the season was about getting prepared for 2021. I knew that. You knew that. Kirby probably knew that. Wasn't going to tell you, but it was also about finishing strong. And finishing strong means getting your talented players that probably don't get a lot of playing time onto the field and getting more reps. That's what it is. And they'll get plenty of opportunities to do that this coming up game against Cincinnati, a good football team. So I think that's our show tonight. If we got anybody that wants to call in anymore, we will take those phone calls. But other than that, we will probably be making our way into the Christmas holidays. So if I'm not going to get any phone calls, I do want to tell you guys this. I am thankful for all of you guys. I know it's not Thanksgiving, but it is Christmas. The holidays make you get a little thankful for everything around you. I'm thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for the platform that I've been given or kind of earned. I'm thankful for the interactions that we have on social media, even though some of you call me a douchebag. We're taking a call from Alex Joyce right here. Alex, my man, how we doing?
Hey, man, I have a quick question. One guy, I think, well, you're still doing the show, right? Am I?
No, you are absolutely 100% live right now, Alex.
Okay, perfect. Quick question. So one guy I think people forget about a little bit is Dominic Blaylock. So my question is, who are you looking forward to see most starting with Jermaine Burton and George Pickens next year? Is it Dominic Blaylock or is it Kyrus Jackson?
Thank you, Alex. I'll take your phone. I'll take your question off the air. I think it is easy to forget Dominic Blaylock with the second ACL tear. It would be different if it was a Zamir White type of situation where it was a tear on the left leg and a tear on the right leg after. But it's the same ligament torn twice, and this is an injury that only occurs probably 5% of the time on repaired knees. It is rare. I am not necessarily worried, but I do wonder what he's going to ultimately come back and look like. So I've got to be able to see that. And for right now, I think they really, really take him slow with his recovery process, something that it's not necessarily their fault that they didn't do the first time. It's the fact that Dom's one of these individuals that's genetically a little bit different. That's what happens when your dad is Mookie Blaylock. I don't know if y'all know who Mookie Blaylock is, but just Google him, okay? One of the freakiest athletes in the history of the world, okay? That's how good he was at both sports and a dual sport athlete. So when your dad's Mookie Blaylock and your genetics are Mookie Blaylock, you're going to have freakish ability to bounce back and rehab from injuries. Same situation here with Dom. You weren't going to keep him off of the field. He was constantly going to be pushing, and it just pushed too much, and the thing popped on him again. What it's going to look like moving forward, I don't know. I know I saw him a couple weeks back, and doesn't look like the Dominic Blaylock we saw 6-7 months ago, 8 months ago, and it's not expected to be. He is in full rehab mode right now, and I think this one he takes a little bit slower. So, but back to me thanking you guys. We do what we do. We produce as much content as we do, but we only do it because you guys actually pay attention to it. You guys take it in. You guys absorb it. Some of you like it. Some of you don't. That's up to you. That's fine. I'm going to do me. I'm going to be me. I'm going to keep doing me. Here's a little thing about me. Here's my background in media. Guess what? I was talking to a camera, and my closest friends that have known me since I was 6 years old, that have followed my kind of growth and quote unquote come up through this industry, which I haven't made it, by the way. Still grunt working, still grinding, still a nobody. And I know that. That's why I work as hard as I do. But the people that have followed me from, day one when I had 200 followers all the way up to day 2 or, day 2000 at this point when I have however many followers I have, you would know that I've been doing this for years. I've been coming on here and giving opinions and spouting off opinions with no hesitation, giving you my absolute 100% real thoughts on every single situation, every single, opportunity to give you my opinion. I've been giving it. Search through my Facebook and Twitter profiles. You will see live streams dating back 3 or 4 years of me talking to nobody, literally nobody. And it's the same way. It's the same tone. It's the same. Let's call it what it is. Y'all, some people think I'm arrogant. It's the same arrogance. It's the same cockiness. It's the same. Some people call me a douchebag. It's the same douchebaggery. But guess what? It's going to be me. I'm just going to be me. I enjoy doing what I do. I enjoy giving opinions. And I enjoy you guys, believe it or not. Even the people that hop in my mention and call me douchebags. I laugh about that. That's funny to me Because guess what? I am a little bit of a douchebag, okay? My wife tells me all the time. Love it. She loves me still. She loves me. She thinks I'm a douchebag. So that is what it is. You're not going to stop me from doing me. Matter of fact, I will encourage you. Bomb my mentions. If you hate me, tell me every single day. But guess what? I got into this industry. I knew from day one, people were either really, really going to like me. They were going to love me. They were going to buy and sell every single thing I ever did, or they were going to hate me. But either way, they were going to have an opinion about me. People weren't going to ask questions about Brooks and say, oh, I don't really know. I don't know how I feel about that guy. You're going to know how you feel about me. And the only way that comes out is if I let you know how I feel, and absolutely 1,000% how I feel about every single topic we discuss. That's how I do this business. That's how I'm always going to do this business. That's how I will do this business until the day I retire, the day I'm fired, the day I'm kicked to the curb, whatever happens. You will be getting my opinions, okay? That's the way it is. And if you don't want them, you don't want them. That's fine. Go get them from someone else. They're educated. I think they are. They're draped in football knowledge everywhere I go. Everything I do is about football, okay? It's been that way since I was 5 years old, starting the game. It was that way until my 5th year of college football in my redshirt senior. It's always going to be that way, okay? It's been that way my 5 or 6 years in media. So that's my rant. I hope everyone has a very, very Merry Christmas. You men out there watching this show, I hope you bought your wife something. I hope you got her something nice. I hope you're not waiting until the last minute, but if you are, it's okay. I relate. I got packages showing up to the door tomorrow. So there's one of my OGs right there. When I say OG, like one of my original best friends right here, Eric Lloyd. Eric, comment. Let them know. I've been a douchebag my whole life. Ain't nothing going to change. Ain't nothing changed but the name on the mail. I'm telling you right now. I've been the same way my whole life. Eric will tell you. He's known me since I was 5 years old, probably earlier than that. I think, you know, our brother and sister went to kindergarten together. Our families have been friends for our whole life. I've been giving people opinions since I was able to talk. People have not been able to shut me up, and you won't be able to shut me up no matter how much you call me a D-bag in my mentions, okay? That's the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be. I ain't shying down from nothing. I don't care. That's the way it is because like Mike is talking about right here, it is passionate. That's what I am. I'm a passionate dude about the product that I do. And guess what? If I don't buy it, if I don't love it, if I'm not buying into it, if I'm not passionate about it, how in the heck do I expect you to be passionate about it? How in the heck do I expect you to come and watch it and enjoy watching it? You can't. It's an energy. It's a passion. It's a desire to produce great content. That's what I do. That's what I love to do. We will see you guys next time. That was a long, useless rant. I hope y'all have a